Catch up on the hottest panels from Pulse 2026, the UK's leading conference for retail and e-com professionals. Whether you couldn't attend or had FOMO from sessions you missed on the day, there's no need to miss out on this amazing content. It's all available now on Inside Commerce. Dig in and enjoy.
Welcome to our session on SEO, GEO and the future of discovery. Over the last few years, I think it's fair to say that search has become one of the most reliable channels in terms of kind of e-commerce, but the definition of search and discovery has changed quite a lot over the last few years. So consumers are no longer typing queries into kind of search engines in the kind of traditional sense. That's now happening over kind of a fragmented set of channels, whether that be kind of TikTok or ChatGPT, YouTube, Reddit, different marketplaces and so on. So at the same time, brands are trying to understand what visibility actually means in a world where AI can generate answers instead of just serving links. So today we have two very different but highly complementary perspectives. So firstly, we've got Aleyda, who is founder of Oranti. I think I pronounced hopefully correctly on that side. One of the most recognized SEO consultants kind of globally, advising brands across international SEO, GEO, and increasingly AI search optimization. Alongside Aleyda is Max, who is the SEO team lead over at On, a brand that has gone through kind of meteoric growth over the last few years. That was something that came up on the AI overview when I was doing some research on that side. On have delivered high double-digit growth whilst building one of the most visible premium sportswear brands in the market. So what I'm excited about in this discussion is we'll get both the kind of strategic consultant view on the market, as well as obviously a perspective from a brand that is growing really well online. Hopefully we'll be able to facilitate some good discussion over the next 20 minutes or so in how kind of behavior is changing, how brands are staying discoverable, and how demand. So with that being said, let's jump in. So to start kind of broad, do you believe we are both entering the biggest shift in search since mobile? There's obviously a lot of discussion around GEO, AI, SEO, and LLM optimization. And in your opinion, how much of this is kind of industry hype versus kind of real? And Max, I'll start with you.
I mean, I would say is the biggest shift. I would even say maybe a bigger shift than the mobile shift. And we see that, I think it's, yes, there's a hype for sure. I mean, this room is full. I'm not sure if it's the hype thing, but for sure the hype reaches the C-levels. It reaches everyone, like every one of us in this room is using generative AI to everyday tasks. So I think it's real. We see the shift in how the traffic moves. We see that. I think, yes, by far, a very much more fragmented journey for sure.
Yeah, and Aleyda, how does that fit?
Yes, completely agree. I believe that this is definitely potentially the biggest shift that we are seeing and experiencing. I believe that the challenge comes in how it is being sold, right? Or how it is being promoted in order to leverage or make the most out of the opportunity. Like if it was, again, purely a performance channel, what is the impact that you should be looking for to obtain out of AI search on one hand, and then on how fast the change, the shift will happen. Because, for example, with platforms that also are now used a lot for discovery, like TikTok, for example, or Instagram as well, or YouTube as well, we know that the shift didn't happen from one day to another. So it's not fair to say, and when I probably many of you have seen all of this studies from big consulting, bigger firms saying like in 12 months, ChatGPT will take all of the pie from Google, things like that. Like, let's be realistic. Google, by the way, they also have their AI layer as well, AI mode, Gemini, will end up being very likely the winners at the end of the day because we cannot undermine their mode and the understanding of the sophistication of search and the integration already on all of users' ecosystems, right? But in any case, shift is happening, yes. How it is being sold and the angle that is being taken, potentially this is where the hype is happening.
Yeah, and I guess to follow that on, fundamentally, how do you feel that, what do you fundamentally think has changed since traditional SEO versus kind of what the industry is overcomplicating within the GEO side of things? Later, I'll start with you.
Yes, so definitely the UI layer changes, right? Like the outcome is not 10 blue links where we expect a deterministic outcome of a click of traffic, where we can measure a lot of the value in terms of traffic and direct conversions that we can easily attribute to that traffic. Not anymore, because the outcome now is this synthesized answers that in the case of e-commerce, yes, in many times there's a table with comparisons, with also a layer of sentiment and recommendation happening already. So the AI is already doing that rather than the using and accelerating that decision-making process for them as well. So there's definitely that. So I will say a very, very important shift will be that it is not only necessarily purely a performance channel anymore, but a branding channel as well, because of this sentiment recommendation layer that we see happening in AI platforms and outcomes and answers that we get from these platforms on one hand. Then on the other hand is, how do we measure it because of it? Unfortunately, we know that a lot of decisions are being made out of the outcome of AI answers, but the user don't go and click right away. Right? The measurement model that we are using right now is broken, unfortunately. So how we can come up with proxy signals in order to better gauge the value of AI answers, right? And this still all pretty new. For example, with a few clients, what we are testing right now is doing surveys, quite a few surveys at the end of the conversion journey. And what we are seeing is that many of these conversions in analytics were being attributed to direct, and then also a little bit to organic, but a lot to direct. And then at the end of the day, they answer, oh yeah, what made you to decide to buy this or to purchase this item, this product? Like an AI answer, ChatGPT, or like, yes, it is like this. So I will recommend you to start doing this, because unfortunately, the tools that we have nowadays are not able to be completely, fully helpful because of all of the shifts that are happening. Yeah.
If I can add one thing to that, is I think there's a reality where what happens on your brand happens somewhere else now as well. So like how your brand shows up somewhere else is different. You cannot control the narrative like the way that you can control it on your own website. And that for us, for example, as a premium brand, that's a challenge. So like, how do we show up? Because in that space, and people spend a lot more time in that space, people spend a lot more time on those tools. We see like the click out rate very, very low, less than 1%. So your brand is happening there, your products are happening there, and to understand how you show up there is a reality that everyone in the company has to know and work with.
And Maxon has scaled incredibly quickly over the last few years, and it's maybe worth just giving the audience a little sense of the kind of growth that you've been going through. But from a GEO perspective, what kind of role does GEO play in the growth that you're experiencing? And are there any specific tactics that you've carried out over the last few years and learnings that you've taken from this?
So last few years, I wish we really started thinking about it a bit more serious, like a year and a half ago. I would say what changes is at the moment, like organic traffic is still up. We're still year over year seeing growth. The growth has slowed down a little bit. But what we're seeing is like we have to think of how our whole orchestration differently. So what we're thinking is we built like for our team, we built a bit like a pyramid that has like at the base everything that's a tech foundation. So get your feeds right. Maybe we have some time to talk about that. Get your feeds, your crawlability of your website right. And that's the foundation. And based on that, you have the context that your brand happens in. Then you have the context that the categories that you're selling your product in happens. And then on the top, you have the products. So for example, when we look at our products, a running shoe should, like if I look for a running shoe, we need to make sure that a running shoe shows up. So we use, for example, Clara AI to like look at the SKU level, because we need to understand what is the individual product. How is that performing? Is that being understood in the right way? Or am I actually having a training shoe as a running shoe on AI? And then somebody is starting to run a half marathon and that they get, I don't know, shin splints, some other pain. And that hits you a year later on Reddit.
Yeah, makes sense. And Aleyda, obviously, to follow this up, you're working kind of as a consultant, and it might be worth just giving the audience a little bit of an overview of the types of clients that you work with. But what are the common themes that you're seeing in audits that you carry out for clients? Is there anything that you are kind of seeing, and what's an actionable tip that you would give everyone to kind of get more discoverable in LLMs?
Yes. So two things, and one to piggyback something that you mentioned regarding the role of being consistently optimize and perceive and align, and the way that you, let's say, yes, align the characteristics and the attributes and the constraints of your product, or how you want to be perceived and how you want your users to find your product, not only via search, but everywhere. User-generated content, social media, the work that you do also in digital PR, in reviews. I published yesterday, actually, an analysis that is pretty much an outcome of research that I am doing because of my clients. I have quite a few retailers clients in the US. One of them, like a brand that you are very likely wearing right now. And the thing is, it's like, we know that at the enterprise level, it's not a matter necessarily of resources, but it's a matter of silos and alignment, and showing proof that, yes, it's not because the SEO person wants to all of a sudden have a say in digital PR or in community management. It's no, take a look, 70%, or depending on the vertical, but 60% many times of the citations in AI platforms are coming from user-generated content, are coming from Reddit, are coming from Vogue, are coming from coverage of journalists, things like that, right? So I will say that it's fundamental right now, and that is a tip, I believe, that can be easily applicable if you're tracking like good, well-representative prompts across the customer journey for which you want to be showcased in a positive light, and see where the citations are coming. Go and take a look if you already have a presence that you're actively managing, influencing in a good way. I'm not saying to spam, of course, but I'm saying that, do you have good, actionable, active presence there that portrays your brand in a way that you really want to be perceived with? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned the digital PR. I think one thing what we're trying to do is we're not trying to do like a silo, separate digital PR team, but we're trying to get our PR team to think more digital. And basically, and if you have a prompt monitoring, get them to look at that as well. Connect that, like have everyone in the company has to work towards being consistent online. Like your digital footprint depends on the digital PR, depends on your reputation on Reddit, on UGC platforms. So like you need to get those people in, get the social team in as well, have them look at what are the sources, are we inviting the right people to a media day?
Yeah.
Like that's the questions that they should be asking themselves. And I think you can, as the SEO or organic growth part of the company, you can empower other people in the company and show them like you actually matter. And this whole AI hype bubble, you actually matter. If you work together with us, this is going to be beneficial for you because this is our digital footprint that matters.
Yeah. Potentially another thing that I will highlight, because I know that is a challenge in e-com, because it's especially with search is seen as a very performance-driven channel, right? And so there has been always this challenge, at least for me as a consultant, right? Whenever I am recommending to create top-of-the-funnel content, informational content, editorial guides, it's a must now. Why? Because of how LLMs work, how AI search works, right? It's not a keyword versus page sort of mapping anymore. Best running shoes for the winter. And you have a guide for that, or you have a catalog or a category page or a PLP for that. Not anymore, right? Because of how AI search works, something that I believe that you will have likely heard about, like funnel queries, how they go and try to identify any potential chunk of content, extract of content or information that they can use up with a good synthesized answer. That content can come from a guide, from a PLP, from a PDP, from your support center, from your FAQs, and so on. So my point is, you cannot only focus anymore on investing on an amazing experience on purely your PLPs and the PDPs or category level, or no. You need to invest to try to establish your authority and your presence across the whole customer journey and with the attributes that you know you are going to be searched with. So, for example, one of the main competitors of a client that I have in the US is REI. And if you go and take a look, if you have access to tools like SimilarWeb or SEMrush, and you go and take a look at where most of the AI traffic is going, it's not going to PLPs or PDPs, it's going to their guide center. The same with Chewy. Go and take a look at where most of the AI traffic is going. So you will say, oh, Aleyda, but that is not content that will convert. No, take a look at REI, experience, and optimization of their guides, the same as Shui, how they integrate and cross-sell and upsell the products to their PLPs. Oh, the best hiking guide for newcomers. And they will recommend the products that they sell for hiking in an honest way with real expertise, right? And this is something that I believe that, unfortunately, e-commerce have slept a lot on because of how hard it is many times to try to show value. Now, not with AI search, I believe it has become a must.
And how much are you seeing within audits that you do with clients that the sites are not actually crawlable in the first place? And how, from a technical foundations perspective, are you kind of seeing things need to change with the emergence of kind of GEO and SEO?
So I think quick show of hands, who identifies as an SEO or GEO person in this room? So I don't talk about too many. Okay, there we go. So let's not get too technical, but what doesn't matter is that what you have is accessible to the systems out there, right? So that is crawling in the first place, and that's what I meant with the technical foundations. So it's crawling, can an AI or a crawler, can they look at your website without losing some of the content and context? And the second thing is product feeds. So we had a workshop with Google Merchant team yesterday at On, and they came in and we talked about feed context, and not get into the technical details here, but what matters is the context that you can give around your products. So basically, a product feed is something that you send to Google Merchant Center and ultimately to the AI that's going to use that data. And what you can do is you can give context around your shoes or around any product. So if you have a shoe that is a running shoe and there's a carbon plate in it, there's a lot of technical specs, but actually what people want to know when they use an AI tool is, can I use this shoe for interval training? Is this a good shoe for beginners? Does this shoe match with my purple t-shirt? I would not put that in, but you could put something like a Q&A, like what are the main questions around your product? Put that in a product feed, put that in the context that your product and your brand shows up in. And I think that really matters. So think about what's the context that you have, because that's what needs to match the context of the consumer.
Something that I would recommend you to do right away, very quickly, without entering into too many technicalities, right? Like disable the JavaScript on your browser and take a look how much of the content of your PDPs is still shown in there. Because many of the reviews, the ratings, the FAQs, the Q&As platforms, now they are coming up with solutions. So for the other day, I had a client forwarding me Bazaar Voice new solution in order to pre-render, to provide reviews content that was otherwise only available through JavaScript, now to be showcased directly in the raw HTML, meaning that the AI bots will surely see it. Because by default, unfortunately, AI bots, let's say, capacity to crawl JavaScript is not as sophisticated as the one of Google, because they are not necessarily at the same level yet. So what I would recommend without entering into too many technicalities, like talk with your SEO team, your technical team, with your DevOps, and ensure that this content of your reviews, FAQs, user-generated content that adds up this layer of authority, uniqueness to many of your PDPs at scale is actually indexable, because unfortunately, maybe for Google it is, but not for AI bots necessarily.
Like I have a number actually to back that up, because we were one of the first 200 companies, at least according to them, who sent a product feed to OpenAI. And that product feed was just the Google Merchant Center product feed. So we didn't do anything new. We only provided them with a list of the products that we have. Like, think of it as an Excel sheet. So we provided that data, and within a day, the traffic that came from there, it went up 133%. So that was somewhere in the thousands of sessions per day. And if you think about it, 1,000 sessions on your website, only less than 0% click out of ChatGPT. So that means over 100,000 people are in contact with the product on that day that weren't the day before. So that's the impact of just the technical accessibility of your information.
And we are almost out of time, so I'll jump to the last question. But one of the biggest challenges at the moment is around kind of measurement and attribution, especially with the emergence of zero-click searches. So how are you thinking about kind of measurement and attribution across kind of the LLMs and different areas? And what's your approach from On, and what are you seeing with your clients, Aleyda?
So what we're doing is we're using two different tools at the moment to look at at general brand visibility, which is like a check mark, and then we're looking at the performance of the products that we have. So those are like two zoom ins that we have, but ultimately you need to be sure that information is correct. That's the first step. That's what we need to measure. And then visibility, and you probably have heard the term visibility for a brand, for a certain prompt. That's a proxy. It's a proxy, but that proxy can get you buy-in by the management to get resources to work on the right things. And I mentioned the traffic that went up, the 133%. The visibility at that moment moved 0. Nevertheless, I do think it's the right thing to look at those prompts and understand how you show up on those tools so you know where you have a problem and fix that.
And the tools that you're using, are they proprietary tools or are they industry tools?
So they're industry tools. So we're using PKI for the brand monitoring, we're using Clara AI for the product feed and feed optimization.
Brilliant. And Aleyda, before we wrap up, anything else that you would add from that perspective?
Yes. So I actually, and this is not a trick for you to start following me, but I presented about this a couple of weeks ago at Brighton SEO. Because of the needs of different type of clients, like I have a measurement framework that measures readiness, AI readiness, visibility as a proxy signal that is a good reference to have, but not the ultimate. And then the actual business impact. The thing is, business impact, you think, oh, the conversions, the revenue, that is the base, right? Say that is what we know for sure. But there's room there of opportunity that we need to start gauging, right? So I propose a few methods like the one of the surveys to start filling that gap, right? So if you go to my site, aleydasolis.com/blog, you will see that is the second latest blog post that I published a couple of weeks ago. I am going to reshare it now again in LinkedIn. So if you search for me in LinkedIn, you will see the whole guide in there completely free for you to take a look. But yes, you cannot only go to purely visibility, purely the revenue in analytics, because you will leave too much on the table that can be attributable and should be trackable as well. Like sentiment, it's like a good blend of performance and also branding channels, metrics as well that we should start tracking, because the channel is a blend now. It's not only one or the other. Indeed.
Do follow Aleyda though.
Yeah, Aleyda's got a newsletter, so everyone should sign up. But yeah, massive thank you to both Max and Aleyda. Hopefully you all found that useful. And thank you very much.